Picture of a honeybee collecting bee pollen. Questions about bee pollen. I'm Tim Durham with Durham's Bee Farm in Walls, Mississippi. I went into my first beehive about 58 years ago, and I love bees. If you even think you have allergies, please read the warning below in the description area. Very important. What is bee pollen? Bee pollen is loaded with protein. It has minerals, vitamins, amino acids, hormones, and enzymes that the body needs. It's a fine powder that the honeybees collect from flowers, blooms, wildflowers, tree blooms, and they collect this very fine powder, and they use an enzyme that the honeybee makes, which is also good for you. And they use this enzyme to pack this powder into a granule on each hind leg, and when that granule gets large enough, then they will carry it back to the hive, leave it at the hive, and go back and get more. Is our bee pollen fresh? Yes. Durham's bee pollen is fresh. I believe it's of the best bee pollen you'll ever find. How do you take bee pollen? Most people take 2 teaspoons a day, one in the morning, one in the evening. Most of our customers love the flavor of our bee pollen, but keep in mind you're not taking it for flavor. Some people don't like the taste of bee pollen. So in that case, you can mix it in yogurt, put it on your salad. You can chase it down with a juice. Is our bee pollen freeze-dried? No, our bee pollen is not freeze-dried. Freeze-dried does not apply to bee pollen. Freeze-dried applies to royal jelly, for example, and that is the best, by the way. But freeze-dried does not apply to bee pollen. I'll give you an example. Milk and beef come from the cow, and the term homogenized applies to milk. It does not apply to beef in any way. Same thing with freeze-dried. Freeze-dried applies to royal jelly. Back to bee pollen. Should you keep your bee pollen refrigerated? The answer is yes. Some people put it in the freezer. You do not have to put it in the freezer. The refrigerator is just fine. If you're going on a trip, 1 or 2 weeks, it's certainly okay to take the bee pollen with you without keeping it refrigerated. Just don't, for that short period of time, just don't leave it in your automobile in July and August with windows rolled up. Weight loss. Does bee pollen help with weight loss? We've had people tell us it does. I had a man the other day tell us he was taking bee pollen for helping him with apostate. There are no studies, no control studies on this, and I'll get into that later. Where do you get the best bee pollen? Well, you'll be hard-pressed to find better bee pollen than Durham's Bee Farm. Our bee pollen is multicolored, and this statement is true worldwide. Multicolored bee pollen is more nutritious for you than single-colored bee pollen. We don't oversell our products. We don't have to. They sell themselves. The big majority of people selling bee pollen, and especially large companies, they cannot get a patent on bee products or bee pollen, so they are very resourceful coming up with gimmicks why their bee pollen is the best. They may tell you it's potentiated. If their pollen is powdered, they've ground it down to a powder. You can be very suspicious, because first of all, there's no need to grind it down to a powder. But when they do that, they don't have to go through and clean out any foreign objects. They just grind it up with the rest of it. Plus, if it's a single source color. All the pollen has the same color. That means it comes from a farm crop, and when they grind it up, then they can cover that fact up. Multicolored is the most nutritious pollen you can get. Our pollen has many colors, and there's different shades within each color. Please visit our website at durhamsbeefarm.com. Thank you.